It's been a hot minute since we made a Poppy Playtime video, mostly because if we do them too much, we'll end up sucking the content so dry it will be like another indie horror series that we've been doing to death because any other videos we release seem to fail horribly. But that curse hopefully won't happen today because today we combine the two as we ask the question, what if William Afton was in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2? First, we have to discuss what the story of Poppy Playtime is and if it can relate to anything currently in the FNAF world. What we know about the company that seems to be the main antagonist of Poppy Playtime series, called Playtime Co., is also basically the story of the game. They seemingly hit it big in the 1960s with the release of Poppy, the world's first truly intelligent toy. This Poppy doll put them on the map, marking them as the king of toys until dolls fell out of style in the late 70s, causing Playtime Co. to have to update their repertoire and come out with newer toys like Huggy Wuggy and Candy Cat, among others. This helped them bring back some of the business they lost, but this didn't seem to be enough. They soon began seemingly experimenting with more realistic dolls in an attempt to recreate Poppy's success, because let's face it, even if there was a truly intelligent version of Poppy, not every version of Poppy would be like that. Only the one they used in commercials and later we release at the end of that chapter, just like how ice cream in commercials is really mashed potatoes. Yeah, sorry. Sentient toys, however, are nothing new to FNAF, so William wouldn't really feel like a stranger. Of course, we also have to decide what version of William comes over. If it was William, Springtrap, Scrap Trap, Burn Trap, Glitch Trap, or maybe even Dave Miller, William's alias while he was on the run and underground in the Silver Eyes novel. Because the Springtrap personality or persona is very different to the William Afton persona. Springtrap is a very aggressive personality compared to William, who is sneaky and calculated as opposed to Springtrap's direct approach. So assuming that since this story revolves around people more than the toys, who are definitely instrumental but not as important like they would be in FNAF, in this case we would be going with William Afton specifically because he needs to be able to sneak around and do villainous things, whereas Springtrap would likely just end up being a toy. Well, actually, if we think about it, maybe we can work two versions into this series. So, if Afton was in Poppy Playtime, he would probably just end up being a higher up at the company. Just because he doesn't seem like a man who sees living doll or truly intelligent doll and then doesn't do anything about it. Okay, look, if Afton's coming over, his story has to come over as well. It can't be just some random dude who's named William Afton. So he would have to have the story of wanting to bring his kids back. So, after hearing this, he would start at the company and eventually work his way up. By the time the actual game comes around, I'm guessing that he'd be pretty high up, like on the board of directors or shareholders or whoever it is at least. But I think that he wouldn't be CEO or close to that, because he doesn't seem like that type. He'd have worked his way up because he doesn't seem like the kind of person who likes working for other people, you know, he likes to be in control. Hence why his targets for his crimes are kids, since they're easier to control. So he'd be a higher up at the company, and not the top because he wouldn't want all that attention, and it would probably have been his idea to try and recreate the success of Poppy with new toys, since his goal of bringing his children, or at least the crying one, back would kind of still need to be there for this character to make sense. Like I was explaining earlier, he kind of need to have that, otherwise it's not William, it's just some guy. Although everything associated with the pizzeria in his story could just be a separate entity within the Poppy Playtime world. As a reasonable extension of William being the one who suggests these experiments, I'm also going to be guessing he's the one conducting them, since if nobody can do it right, you gotta do it yourself when it comes to creating human toys. That sounds weird. This then leads him to create Experiment 1006 that then escapes, like we see during the events of Poppy Playtime Chapter 1. So Afton's voice would be the one that we heard on the tapes. This would probably mean that he's actually dead, because, you know. But no. So instead, since he knew about the risks, he would take those into consideration and would probably have a backup plan if anyone or anything ended up going haywire. probably something that turned himself into a toy or something similar to give him enhanced strength and stamina, as well as just keep him alive longer, no longer needing to eat and sleep. Thus, Springtrap is born. Well, the Springtrap that would be in this universe. So here, Springtrap wouldn't really be an animatronic suit that Afton got spring locked in, but rather the toy that Afton would have turned himself into. Willingly, might I add. But they'd still remain largely the same, since both have Afton's organic body inside them, yet still enhancing it in some way. So after we knock down Huggy Wuggy, we go to release Poppy, thus ending the first chapter. My idea would be that this is actually what William wanted all along. Or maybe not what he wanted specifically, but something that would draw him out. Knowing that the only true working human toy hybrid is actually out and has been released from its prison would certainly entice the man that just wants to use this technology to bring back his son to come out. So in chapter 2, if William was in Poppy Playtime, he could reasonably be the villain that we'd be fighting. Experiment 1007, if you will. So he'd come after Poppy so that he could study her and make sure he knows how to bring his son back. Well, maybe. However, he would soon learn that the secret to recreating Poppy was that the person becoming the toy would have to be willing to do so, like Poppy's human and William were. Yeah, because William willingly turned himself into a toy to survive Huggy, he's also one of these perfect human toy hybrids, meaning that to become a toy, the person would have to be alive, which would send William spiraling and probably turn him into the Springtrap we all know and love, but also hate. For me, mostly hate. He needs to die. Hell, you know what? Just for literary significance, he may even just set fire to the Playtime Co. facility just out of anger. Because honestly, that would make sense given the history of this character in the other franchise. We'd obviously end up surviving this fire though, and Springtrap would later become the main antagonist, while we spent our time fighting off the other experiments that escaped. So we'd have 5 additional chapters, at least after chapter 2, where we'd fight experiments 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and 1005, assuming that that's the scheme that they'd be going with. But the whole time, we'd wonder why Afton didn't kill us directly, and instead just tried to crash the building down on us, which in reality gave us plenty of time to escape, which would also be a big mystery of the game and the ongoing chapters. He could have had us by the throat and then let go to run away. And we wouldn't know until the final chapter that the reason is because we are either Afton's child or the toy of one of his kids, which is why he released us and gave us a chance to leave, resulting in a final battle between father and son where he realized that it's him or us, meaning he doesn't care if we're his son. He's seen how fragile this form can be and is now in the form of Springtrap known as Scrap Trap. We end the fight by burning down the building with us inside as well, alluding to FNAF 6, killing all of us, or at least it seems that way, because, you know, he always comes back. In the final chapter, we get one final scene of something crawling out of the burnt down ruins of whatever warehouse we were in that stored all the Playtime Co. toys. And as we zoom in, we see bunny ears. And the most recent form of Springtrap, Burn Trap, emerges from the rubble, and the scene cuts to black. Poppy Playtime may be over, but Burn Trap's playtime is just beginning. That sounds kind of creepy, considering how he wants to lure kids to the back of pizza joints. There we have it, friends. My idea of what would happen if William Afton was in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. Although now that I think about it, this sounds more like a fan fiction than anything else. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump out that window and regret every decision that I've made that has brought me to this moment. But what games would you like to see Afton appear in next? Or I guess, what games should I make Afton appear in next in a totally convoluted and pointless way? Be sure you let me know down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. Whee!